Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Anish, and today we have Dante Ufferman here, a guest who's a huge Jets fan. Dante, say what's up.
So, guys, how's everybody doing?
I'm sure everyone's doing good. And again, please, he's honestly one of the funniest TikTokers I've watched talking about the Jets. he's definitely not happy. I think we all know, obviously, Jack, who can't be here today. We know how he feels about the Jets. So we got another Jets fan here, and I'm basically holding it down for the Jets content. But again, be sure to follow him on TikTok and on Instagram. I'll leave his links down below. Dante Ufferman, again, one of the funniest TikTokers I have watched. And again, as I told him, I appreciate your content, dude. It's really funny. It gives me a laugh.
Hey, big thing is if I can make people smile and laugh, I'm happy. So, because as a Jets fan, there's not a lot to laugh about.
Yeah, totally got that. So, I mean, let's get into it, right? So with the Jets, 0-11. There's obviously we know what the whole thing is with Adam Gase, and I mean, what there was a petition. I mean, I think there was like a rally which only like 5 people showed up to. I mean, there has been some frenzy in terms of the Jets with Adam Gase. So, I mean, you want to give your thoughts on it? Like, why do you think it went so south?
Here's my thing. Adam Gase, first off, his whole career was made by Peyton Manning. All right. And one thing I actually looked really into today was the Jets finished, like they started last season, I want to say 1-7. And then they finished basically, it was 7-9. So they rattled off 6 wins out of their last 8 games.
6-2.
Yep. Or 6-2. So basically right there is why Adam Gase got that. All right, he finished strong. We'll give him another look for next year. And, they had probably one of the hardest schedules to begin the season for last year and this year, but just kind of luck of the draw there. I'm not an Adam Gase fan. I'm trying my best, to keep it down a little bit. Yeah. But his whole career was based off of Peyton Manning's success. So he got labeled an offensive guru because of Peyton Manning's unheard of, just that's a Hall of Famer right there.
Football IQ, right?
Got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, but yeah, I felt like not only was Adam Gase letting him be the head coach for another season terrible, but the big thing that really struck me is I really thought the new GM, I thought Douglas was going to fire him probably, I want to say after the 5th game. I thought they were just going to be like, all right.
The loss to the Broncos, right?
Yeah, that was the prime time game, which was one of the god awful prime time games of this year.
Hey, I still watched it.
Oh, hey, I was there. I was happy because I'm like, hey, it's a prime time game, but I knew it was going to be a terrible prime time. That was when Broncos had what's his name, Brent
Ripien.
Yeah. Over there he got his dub, but he's still there. I think basically the thing with what's happening with Adam Gase, they're just doing the same thing they're going to do with what was the old Browns quarterback? 0-6, or not quarterback.
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. There we go. Yeah, they're going to do the same thing that the Browns did with Hugh Jackson. They're just going to let him finish out the 0-16 season.
But I think with Hugh Jackson, the thing is, though, they let him go back for another year after 0-16. And then he goes 2-1 before he gets fired. And then Greg Williams comes in and goes 5-2. Or, to finish the year off. I think Hugh Jackson went 2-4-1 or something like that. And then they had Greg Williams come in as interim. So do you think he will last another year? I mean, is there a chance?
No way.
Yeah, I'm hoping not, because the thing for me with Adam Gase was, you're right. I think I got also swayed into it a little bit with him and Peyton Manning. But another one was with the Dolphins in 2016 when his first year they go 10-6, right? Yeah. And I think what that kind of skewed me a little bit, because I thought that team was really good and underrated offensively, right? When Tannehill was there, because he tore his ACL towards the end of the season, and then they got smacked by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card. But, like, for example, I thought they had a good running scheme with Jay Ajayi. He had, like, 1272 yards and 8 touchdowns. Jarvis Landry was getting his thing going. Kenny Stills at 9 touchdowns. I think that's still his best season output to date. So I thought that was a good year from him. And then ever since then, it's just staggered down. But I thought he was an interesting hire for the Jets. And the thing is,
a good way to put it.
Yeah. But I thought, with Sam Darnold, I was not the biggest fan of Sam Darnold. And it's partly because, again, my co-host Jack, this dude loves Sam Darnold, like man crush on him. Okay. So that's why he's a whole Jets fan. That's literally why he became a Jets fan. So with Sam Darnold, I I was never the biggest fan, but I will admit I did want him over Baker Mayfield with the first overall pick. And he's shown promise, but I just haven't but obviously prior to this year, for me, there really wasn't that huge relevant game. I mean, people point to the Cowboys win, right? Remember that one when coming off mono, but I just didn't, with Baker, it was the whole, the first win in 635 days. With Lamar Jackson, it was going 6-1 and making the playoffs. I just didn't see anything from Darnold. I know he went 7-6 down as last year, but I just didn't see anything that gave me a whole lot of promise that he could really uplift this team being third overall selected. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
His inconsistency is huge. So
Yeah.
I always, through the years, I was blaming it on he's young. Inconsistency, that's something to expect out of a lot of young QBs. I mean, look at Josh Allen. Now he's starting to hit – Josh Allen's catching his stride.
Yeah, it's development, right? That's what I called with Josh Allen too. I just thought he had intangibles and he was winning. So I think, first year, obviously quarterbacks, they're young, they're getting into it. So they're not going to be, produced well. I mean, obviously guys Justin Herbert is a huge counterexample of that, but usually that doesn't happen. But then, their second year, they start to win some more games. And then that third year is when they really take that step. And the fourth year is when they become, the best of the best. We see that with Peyton and Tom Brady. So Josh Allen's on that trajectory with Sam Darnold. I saw it on one of your episodes or videos. You said they're really stunting any type of development that they have.
Oh, yeah. And that's basically when you have – how I look at it is Adam Gase isn't really the greatest when it comes to development aspects. Yeah. I mean, when you have him I'm trying to think of a way to put it nicely here. Adam Gase just can't develop players. That's probably the best way to put it. But if you're looking at it, Sam Darnold, his inconsistency mixed with always injured, mono. This year, I thought he was going to catch COVID. I had that. I was like, all right, he had mono last year. He's going to get COVID this year. But it hasn't looked good. And I do blame, he had a head coach change too. I don't think Adam Gase was there.
No, it was Todd Bowles, I think, first, right?
Yeah, Todd Bowles was still the head coach. Mm-hmm. So, all right, when you change over on head coaches, sometimes that has, new offense to learn, all that type of deal. But it just hasn't clicked, it looks like. I mean, he has plays where, who was it? Against the Broncos, I think. Wasn't that – the Broncos game was the play where he had that really – where he makes those great plays, and then he'll go over. I was actually at the Lions. It was the Monday night game. It was the Lions game, Lions versus Jets.
First start? Was that his first ever? Yeah, and he throws the pick six. I was about to mention that too. He throws the pick six, and I'm like, oh my God, is this really what we're gonna get?
I remember because I was at that game because it was at Detroit, and I'm from Michigan, so I'm like, all right, this is gonna be, this is what I was waiting for. I'm like, I get to watch the Jets play finally. And he throws that opening pick, and I'm just like, this is some. I was so upset when that happened. But they ended up winning that too. So
yeah, he played really good. This year he's got 3 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's got a 64 passer rating. And here's the thing with Sam Darnold, it's just even when you watch him, I'm gonna be real. I haven't watched many Jets games, but when I do see him, he's just automatically rolling out of the pocket. He doesn't even trust his offensive line. It seems like he's
happy feet. Yeah, he is. Exactly. He is a big issue with happy feet. And the other thing too, what was it I was gonna say? His the happy feet causes him to get outside the pocket. Plus, I think last week was the first week he actually had all 3 of his main receivers starting for him. So you can blame it on weapons, and all right, Frank Gore is his lead running back. Really hasn't had an offensive line his whole career. He's had a bottom 2 to 3 offensive line since he's been in the NFL. And when you take hits like that and you can't trust the guys in front of you, It makes it hard to deliver every week.
Yeah, it's just I feel like he's losing confidence in himself. I think he's just – you can see the type of throws that he's making. There was one against Miami. He just rolls to the right, tries to run out the pocket, and then just tries to flail and it just gets picked off. I mean, he's not – I wouldn't say he's I wouldn't say his career is over, but can you salvage that? I mean, is it possible if he goes to a better situation? I don't know, because again, mechanics develop over time, especially your first 3 years in the league. And I just don't know if he can if that can be salvaged.
It's like the same question you have, will Josh Rosen ever play another football snap in his career? Looking at that, I don't think so. But if Sam Darnold, if he goes from the Jets, which, in my opinion, I think this will probably be his last year. But if it's his last year, one, is he going to get a start with a team that could actually use him? Let's say I was looking at the teams. I was like, all right, maybe Dallas doesn't sign Dak back, which that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
Or the Bears. The Bears desperately, after watching Trubisky last night, man, the Bears need a quarterback. But I think they'll probably end up drafting a quarterback, depending on where they land, because they're kind of
Exactly. It's
5
all up
wins.
in the air right now. But I
Yeah.
mean, okay, well, let's kind of transition because so the Jets have some bright spots, right? Like Denzel Mims, he's got 62 yards
Love him.
or over in the last 3 games. I thought he was a steal in the draft. I really
Oh,
liked him.
super excited when they picked him because I
Yeah.
was like, I remember they traded that pick when they could have got when they needed a wide receiver. They traded.
Exactly. Yeah, and they went down to 49. Yeah.
Yep. And
So,
when he was there and they scooped him, I was like, this is perfect. So I
yeah.
was thrilled with that.
And then Crowder, again, to start the year, he had 3 straight 100-yard games and then got injured, I think. I mean, really hasn't looked the same. But, I mean, Quinnen Williams, he's first in run stop win rate and fifth in pass rush win rate. So those are 2 stats that were pretty notable to me. And then 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. So he's actually come around after, kind of a disappointing rookie year, I would say.
He started a little bit slow this year, but he's starting to pick it up a little bit too.
Exactly. So, now that kind of brings me to the main point of this. So the Jets are most likely going to get the number 1 overall pick. I mean, barring anything, and I think, but barring if, they win one and Jacksonville loses out because Jacksonville would have the strength of schedule factor with them. So, but I'm pretty sure that the Jets are going to get this number 1 overall pick. And if they do, you do know who's at number 1. I mean, we all know who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Would you take, if Trevor Lawrence is there, right? And I just think Sam Darnold's confidence has just been shaken. I don't think he can succeed with this team. Is it worth, taking a chance on Trevor Lawrence, but, what comes with that? Like, what if you do the same thing to him as you did to Sam Darnold?
And see, no, I've had a lot of thought with this because this is basically, for me right now, it's not so much watching the Jets. It's like, all right, who's coming up in the draft? I absolutely love the wide receivers coming up in the draft, but in my opinion, Jets they could kind of pass on a receiver. But big thing is you got Trevor Lawrence there. You're going to have Justin Fields up there in the top 5 too. And then you're going to probably have Kyle Trask going top 10 as well.
Yeah.
For what it looks like. And then don't forget the
Mac Jones, Zach Wilson.
Guy from North Dakota State, Ryan. Trey Lance. There we go. Yeah, Trey Lance. Also, he'll probably be a first-round pick too. So you're going to have at least 4 or 5 quarterbacks going in that first round, I believe. Now, I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence. This guy – closest thing they compare it to is Andrew Luck.
That's exactly what I said. I think he's probably the closest thing we've seen, or at least the most hyped up prospect since him.
Exactly. And that's the guarantee of that, or as close to a guarantee as you can get, almost makes it where you kind of have to pick them. Now they have so many holes that they could fill, so many holes. Their defense now, I would almost like to see them take the same approach on the defense as what the Miami Dolphins did, which was basically buy your defense.
I was a huge fan of that. So for example, I was high on Miami this year. I thought, because they went 5-4 down the stretch last year with a good coach, right? After starting that 0-7 Miami stretch from the beginning of the year when they got blown out by the Ravens and all that. That was probably the least talented team I've ever seen.
It was garbage. Yeah.
But when they go 5-4 and they started being competitive, I was like, it's not about how you start the year, it's how you finish. And then they came in with all these free agency moves, Byron Jones. They picked up Eric Flowers, even though he's not good. But it's better than what they had. And then they had an influx of all these players, right, via free agency. Kyle Van Noy is another one from the defense. Yep. And now you're seeing what they're doing. I think the Jets should do that. I think that's something that teams should start to look into. I mean, Jacksonville did it in 2017. They got to the AFC Championship game. I know long-term maybe it might not be the best, but the thing is the Dolphins went younger than Jacksonville did when they, bought out free agency.
Yeah.
I think the Jets can definitely do that. And also they have draft capital. I personally think they made it out with Jamal Adams. I mean, you see what he's doing in Seattle. Do you think that's Greg Williams just being a good coordinator or Jamal Adams just hasn't been the same?
I think Jamal Adams is still good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. He's a box safety, so he's not going to be the guy that helps with the run stop.
Yeah.
Not the greatest pass coverage safety in the world. He's like your Budda Baker. You got your Budda Bakers, your Jamal Adams, and they're top tier safeties. They got top tier safety price. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge fan for the trade. I really personally like Jamal Adams.
Mm-hmm.
But I was happy for the return they got.
Oh yeah.
Now, and I still think Seattle's defense is trash. But looking at that, I mean, like you said, they have the draft capital. Do I think they trade away that first pick? Do I think they trade down? I really think it depends on now. I think the pick that they're going to have there, you're going to be able to get a head coach based off of that pick. So depending on if you do go Trevor Lawrence, there's going to be a lot of people that want to be your head coach. Specifically,
That's a good point.
you could possibly. My favorite guy on the board right now is not Jim Harbaugh. For anybody that is
I've heard your videos on them. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is the right fit either. But I mean, like, because with Michigan, he didn't win the big games. Like, he made their program better, just he didn't win the big ones. That's what you needed from him, and he just didn't do that.
He didn't. I mean, he got the big time recruits, or at least so they say, the big time recruits. Wasn't able to do anything with the big time recruits, and it's been a while. I mean, what 0-5 against Ohio State, 3-3 against Michigan State.
They lost off a punt, like that got blocked, I think. I mean, like,
yeah, I remember that. I remember that year where you know what's crazy is there's certain games and certain moments like you just remember where you're at, what you're doing.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So, but yeah, that. Anyways, Jim Harbaugh, like I was saying, not a good coach. Hopefully, it'd be funny if the Lions got him. I just would find that so hilarious. He'd get ran out of town so quick. But the big coach I would really love, even though I don't think it's possible, is Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern. I think he's going to die at Northwestern, but if they can try to lure him over to New York, I think he would be the guy that kind of changes the locker room culture, which I think is probably number one issue you're going to have after an 0-16 team.
Exactly. Yeah, there's I feel like they've just lost respect for Adam Gase. They really just don't seem to have they just haven't been playing hard. And, you know, we saw it again, another team that I compared to Miami last year was the Giants this year. You know, Joe Judge, they play for him. They play hard, and, you know, they may not be the most talented, but, hey, they're competitive. And you saw it against teams like the Bucs when they almost won, right? And now they're leading the division, probably going to win it. And I think it's just if you can at least play competitive, but the Jets don't seem like the players just don't seem like they want to.
Especially now towards the last couple games, I'll give them a little bit of credit because it looks like they have been playing a little bit better. But towards that beginning of the season, it looks like they were just like, all right, screw this. I don't want to play. Mm-hmm. But towards the end, I think it has something to do with Adam Gase kind of giving up offensive calling too. But which I read an article today that was stated like something about him. Well, he said he was still
refusing to take over plays. That's something.
Yeah. He's just a clown, man. He's just a clown. But,
I really don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but I think there were reports he was arguing with Greg Williams. Just too much dysfunction, and I think that it goes to show how important intangibles are for a football team. It's just the stuff beyond the sidelines, and people don't realize that. But you know, with that first pick, right? Because this prospect is going to be huge. There are going to be teams that want Trevor Lawrence, and if the Jets get him though, right? And they have an extra first round pick. I mean, how much talent overhaul do you see this team potentially doing if they really want to build around T-Law?
No, I haven't checked the free agency completely. So I need to know what's going in when it comes to tackles and guards and kind of offensive line, because usually you can pick up a couple decent offensive linemen, and that's my big concern is their offensive line is just trash. Defense, I'm not so concerned about it. I would pick Trevor Lawrence if I'm in that first spot. One, you get a good head coach, probably a good head coach to go along, because they'll be like, all right, they got Trevor Lawrence. I think I can do something with that.
It's a security blanket for them too, in a sense.
Exactly. And so you see Trevor Lawrence goes there. You got that Seattle pick, which will probably be anywhere from the 20 to 30 range, I'd like to say.
I'd say maybe low 20s. Or sorry, high 20s. So 20.
High 20s, yeah. Now I'd probably look at running back. In my opinion, out of all the spots now, it depends, because when you get closer to the end of the first round, if you're a team like that, you pick the best player available. So if the best player available happens to be a linebacker, you're going for the linebacker. If it happens to be the D tackle, actually probably not the D tackle.
Yeah, Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, I was about to say basically anywhere besides they really only have a D tackle. The receiving core is pretty nice.
Marcus May.
Yeah, I mean, then besides that, I mean, I'd love for a running back to slip to him. I'd love for Hubbard or maybe ATN to still be there, but I think ATN's going to be picked up early. But if you could do Trevor Lawrence with ATN, I think that'd be absolutely awesome. But it's going to be hard to do that.
I think to kind of transition off of that, though, I mean, this AFC East, right? The Bills, we know they've got a bright future. And I still remember the whole Josh Allen versus Sam Darnold debates, and all these Jets fans tried to tell me that Sam Darnold was better. I said no, not at all. And I think we've seen the answers.
Funny thing is, I'm actually I like Josh Allen, and I'm a big Jets fan, but I actually liked Josh Allen when he got picked by the Bills too.
Yeah, no,
so
I was
all in on Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites in the league. But so the Bills are going to be competitive. We know they've got a bright future ahead. Yeah. I don't know if the Jets can catch them anytime soon, but and with the Dolphins, they've got a bright future too. I mean, I think people are finally recognizing what I think a little bit of us saw with this whole free agency overhaul. This team plays hard. Their coach is great. And they've got some offensive playmakers, maybe be a little bit more consistent with the run game. But I think Gaskin will come back. So, they have their own things, but I think this team will probably make the playoffs. Miami, if all things go well. And then with New England, it's Bill Belichick. You can never count him out. You just can't. And they're 5-6 right now. I mean, who knows? And I don't know if Cam Newton's going to be there. Really, there's a lot of questions. But with Bill Belichick, you can really never count him out. So do you, for this division, do you think the Jets have – what's their outlook for this AFC East, or at least them in the division?
Outlook, here's how I'm going to say it. So Bills are going to be winning. The Bills are basically going to take over where New England is, because I don't think New England's going to be struggling for a couple of years here. They're in cap purgatory. There's only so much the Lord and Savior Bill Belichick can do. But they're going to be in cap purgatory for a little bit. It's going to take them a little while. I'd say 3-4 years for them to figure things out. Dolphins, Bills, those two are basically going to be competing for that number one spot. Now, I'm not completely sold on Tua yet. I know there's a lot of people that love Tua. I didn't like what I saw from him. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I thought Fitzpatrick actually ran a better offense when he was on.
I thought people were overhating on Fitzpatrick coming into the year, but even with Tua, it was just he's small, right? But he's got that accuracy, he's got the release. I think that's what we see with most small quarterbacks. You're accurate and you got a strong arm. That's how you kind of win over scouts. So he's looked okay. His best game was against Arizona, and I picked, or at least I didn't pick him, but I was going to Denver over Miami in that game. I just think quarterbacks don't play well in Denver, young quarterbacks in the mile high air. I just think I don't know why it's been like that, and I don't know if that's enough to really tell me that Tua's not good, or is he good yet? I know you've got some doubts. I've got some doubts too, but do you? With the system that they have and with the culture that Miami's building, I think he can fit just fine.
I think he'll fit eventually. I think it's still going to be at least a year after this year for Tua to kind of get into the full swing of things. I think by mid-season next year, I think you'll start seeing a better Tua. But like you said, that game that did impress me though was when he was battling Kyler Murray. Yeah. Now, it almost feels like Tua's defense every time he plays is just really helping him though. He'll either get a big special teams play, big defensive play. Yeah. So he hasn't had to carry too much of that weight, which is good for him. That's good,
especially for a young guy. We're seeing it when they try to make young quarterbacks like Sam Darnold do the work.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked out.
Or Herbert, man. Justin Herbert. He's having to do all the work, and he's great. From what I've seen so far, he looks phenomenal. But
what is he, 2-8 now as a starter?
Yeah. He's just doing everything you want from him. Same with Joe Burrows. They just don't have anything around him. Yeah. So, actually, the Chargers more so than the Bengals. Bengals were really bad.
But that's the thing, though. And it shows coaching, because the Chargers are talented. They still. Yeah. I know they've had injuries, but with Derwin James and all that, but they still have Casey Hayward. all these guys on defense: Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, and then they got 2 offensive linemen, Trey Turner and Bulaga last year. So they had talent. It's just what are they doing with it? And
missing Derwin James though too. I can't wait for Derwin James to come back. That's one of my favorite defensive players in the NFL.
Oh yeah, no doubt. He is a star.
He's gonna be the next great box safety. But yeah, like you were saying, it's just you got that talent around. I think Anthony Lynn, right? Mm-hmm. Second worst head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, I think people are finally realizing it. Yeah. But again, to kind of wrap this episode up, first off, thanks Dante for joining us. This was great. Obviously not much to look forward to with the Jets, but hey, we saw his take with the number 1 overall pick. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Should this Jets team really take a chance on a generational prospect like this, or try and salvage it for more picks to build this team, around maybe Darnold or a quarterback in free agency? Who knows? But again, our links are down below in the description. His links will be down below in the description. Watch his TikToks. They are funny as hell.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.